On the surface, China's leader Xi Jinping has never been more powerful. So here's the puzzle that has intelligence analysts around the world talking. Why is he suddenly vanishing from the world stage? This summer, he skipped a critical global summit for the first time in 12 years, and the data shows his international travel has fallen off a cliff. The official story is simple, but the signals we're tracking suggest something far more significant is in motion behind the scenes. Welcome to China Decoded. I'm Aric Chen. Let's open the case file. In the world of geopolitical analysis, we are trained to watch for signals, subtle shifts in behavior that can tell you more than any official statement. And right now, some of the most interesting signals are coming from Beijing. On the surface, China's leader Xi Jinping appears more powerful than ever. He secured a third term, centralized control, and placed his allies in key positions. But if you look closer, a paradox emerges. A leader who has consolidated so much power seems to be pulling back from the world stage. Let's start with a hard data point that caught the attention of analysts globally. This past July, for the first time in 12 years, Xi Jinping was absent from the annual BRICS summit. Now, this wasn't just any meeting. It's a cornerstone of China's foreign policy, and his absence is part of a much bigger pattern. So, the central question for us today is this: what is really going on inside China's political black box? Are we witnessing a simple strategic shift by an aging leader, or are these the first subtle tremors of a much more significant change on the horizon? To figure that out, we need to assemble a case file. First, we'll examine the verifiable data on Xi Jinping's changing role on the world stage. Then, we'll delve into the more opaque signals from within the party itself, the whispers, and the new rules of the game. And finally, we'll connect the dots to understand what this could mean for China and for all of us. Okay, let's begin with the evidence we can see and measure. The Wall Street Journal recently published an analysis that puts this trend into sharp focus. Between 2013 and 2019, Xi Jinping was one of the world's most traveled leaders, averaging visits to about 14 countries every single year. In 2014, he had a peak, visiting 20 different nations. He was the face of China's global outreach. Now, let's look at the numbers today. He made just 3 trips. His absence from the BRICS summit in Brazil was the most high-profile example, but there are others. According to insiders who spoke with the press, the annual China-EU summit was originally planned for Brazil this year. It was moved to Beijing only after European officials were informed that Xi Jinping had no plans to travel to Europe. So what's the mainstream explanation for this shift? Well, analysts point to 2 very practical factors. First, his age. A researcher at the US-based Asia Society Policy Institute, Neil Thomas, suggests this may have less to do with geopolitics and more to do with logistics. He notes that as the leader gets older, in this case 72, he's prudently managing his travel to conserve his stamina, in short, avoiding jet lag. The second factor is the immense pressure at home. An assistant professor at the Singapore Nanyang Technological University argues that Xi Jinping is increasingly prioritizing domestic issues, especially as China navigates significant economic headwinds. From this perspective, staying home isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of a leader focusing his energy where it's needed most. And it's important to note, he isn't disengaging. He's just changing the venue. The data shows he's hosting more foreign leaders in Beijing than ever before. He held at least 84 such meetings in the first part of 2024, up from an average about 76 per year during his first 2 terms. He's making the world come to him. Meanwhile, his trusted deputies are filling the void abroad. Premier Li Qiang's travel schedule is at his busiest. So, on the surface, this paints a picture of a rational, strategic delegation, a confident leader, secure in his power, empowering his team to execute his agenda. But here's where it gets interesting. When you pair this observable travel data with the whispers in the political manuals happening inside Beijing's closed system, the picture becomes far more complex. This brings us to the political black box. For decades, at least Chinese politics has been notoriously opaque. What we get are not clear statements, but shadows and echoes that we have to interpret. And for years, one of the most persistent echoes has been unconfirmed speculation about Xi Jinping's health. Since he came to power, various rumors have circulated. From claims of a liver condition to more recently, a report alleging he suffered a cerebral incident during the key party meeting. Now, to be clear, these are unconfirmed rumors. But as one American sinologist, David Kohik, noted on his blog, these kinds of whispers inevitably bring up historical parallels, specifically the intense power struggles that surrounded the cessation of Mao Zedong. Whether the rumors are true or not, the very fact that they persist in political circles creates an atmosphere of uncertainty. And it's in that atmosphere that party's leadership made a very interesting move. On June 30th, the Politburo reviewed a new document. Its official title is Working Regulations for the Party's Central Committees, Decision-Making, Deliberation, and Coordination Bodies. Now, that sounds incredibly bureaucratic, but a new set of rules governing how the absolute highest level of power works is a major event. And top analysts are interpreting it in three completely different and frankly contradictory ways. Let's look at the evidence. Interpretation 1 comes from an unnamed Chinese political analyst who spoke to the South China Morning Post. Their take? This new regulation might be happening because the party is entering a key period of power transition. In other words, this could be the system quietly preparing the ground rules for an eventual succession. Interpretation 2 is almost the polar opposite. Gordon Zhang, a senior fellow at the Gitstone Institute, put forward a bolder theory to the BBC. He believes this is a sign of internal pushback. I'm quoting him directly. I think the top of the party is trying to weaken Xi Jinping's power, but they want to do it in a way that does not signal to the outside world that there is intense infighting. Interpretation 3 suggests it's not about secession or weakening him, but about strengthening his head. Some argue that with China facing a severe and sustained economic crisis, these new rules are designed to further centralize power, allowing Xi Jinping to respond more decisively. So think about that. The same event is being read as a leader preparing his exit, a leader being constrained, and a leader doubling down on his authority. This level of ambiguity is a signal in itself. And it's against this backdrop that the actions of his deputies take on new meaning. Premier Li Qiang attending BRICS, or Vice Premier He Lifeng reportedly taking the lead in trade talks with the US, or even Foreign Minister Wang making unusually blunt statements, such as telling the EU that China does not want to see Russia fail in Ukraine, which some analysts see as him test driving a message on behalf of the top leader. So let's step back and look at our case file. Let's connect the dots. Fact number 1, we have verifiable data showing the leader dramatically reducing his overseas travel and missing key international meetings for the first time. Fact number 2, we see a corresponding rise in his deputies. Trusted lieutenants like Li Qiang and He Lifeng taking on major high-profile roles on the world stage. Fact number 3, this is all happening against the backdrop of persistent, though unconfirmed whispers about the leader's health and the historical question of succession. And the fact number 4, the party's elites introduces a new opaque set of rules for how power is managed at the very top. A move so significant that the world's best analysts can't agree if it means the leader is leaving, being challenged, or consolidating even more control. This isn't just abstract palace intrigue. The stakes here are enormous. The stability and the policy direction of the world's second largest economy affect global supply chains, international security, and the financial markets we all depend on. This brings us back to our core puzzle. When you put all this evidence together, which picture does it paint? Are we seeing scenario A? A confident and a secure leader in his third term who is simply making a logical choice to conserve his energy, focus on domestic challenges, and empower a trusted team to execute his vision? Or are we seeing scenario B, the subtle early stage maneuvers of a political system that is beginning to prepare for an inevitable transition? A system that is responding to pressures, be they health, economic, or internal politics, that remain hidden from our view. The truth is likely known to only a very small circle of people inside Zhongnanhai. But for those of us on the outside, every data point, every missed summit, and every new cryptic regulation is a critical piece of that puzzle. And watching these signals is the only way we can begin to understand what might come next. That's all for today on China Decoded. Thanks for watching. Behind the slogans, beyond the surface. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell. See you in the next one.